All right, guys, in this video, we're going to talk about property inspections and what to look for within those.
As we moved through that hero's journey in the last video, one of the places that I just jumped immediately over on purpose was what happens after you go under contract. What does that inspection timeline look like? And what do you even need to have an inspection done for? So when you're looking at specific deals, let's start with just a turnkey rental. What should you expect for the inspection timeline? Typically, we're looking at 10 to 14 days for you to go through and vet the property using a qualified inspector that's recommended by your agent. Typically, they'll line up and schedule that inspector. As an investor, if you're out of state, probably not going to attend this. If you're in state, by all means, you can go by, but it's really not that necessary unless if you're the type of person that needs to see it and hear the investor point out like, hey, here's what's wrong and this is what it looks like. That can be beneficial. But what I always like to point out to all of my clients, an inspection is essentially a report card for a property. No property is perfect, not even a new construction. You should have seen the list of inspection items on my own new construction house that had just been built, never lived in. Inspectors' jobs are to be like a Karen at a Michelin star restaurant. They are going to point out every single flaw that the waiter or waitress has, that the steak wasn't cooked right. Their Yelp reviews are terrible, no matter where they're at. They're just pissed all the time. That's an inspector looking at a house. How can I dequalify this house? Here is the perfect image of a house. My job is to point out every single flaw. This is just a knowledge report for you to know what to get ahead of. If you're looking at like open grounds, for example, on any outlet, that might look really terrifying the way that the inspector writes it. Like, oh no, the place is going to burn down. There's no neutral wires and copper wires. Guys, that's $15 to repair. Having the knowledge of what that report looks like in a dollar value is super important. So what I always ask my clients is, hey, here's this inspection report. Check it out. Look through it yourself. Take it, write out a list of things that just scare you, like blatantly what scares you whenever you read this report. And then we can chat through it. I usually wait about 24 hours after getting that report, let everybody get all their thoughts out. And then we chat through and figure out the best path forward in negotiating a buyer inspection response. Now, let's say you have the property under contract with an as-is addendum. Well, every state might look a little bit different, but for my market specifically, an as-is addendum is a protection clause for the seller to not have to repair anything found in the inspection. So as a buyer, you can't come in and say, here's a list of 25 items that I want you to fix up, a nick in paint or whatever the petty comment might be. You can't ask the seller to fix that as the buyer. You have to take the property as is, but you in the buyer seat still have the right to have an independent inspection done on the property. You can get that information, get that bad Yelp review, the inspection report, so that you have knowledge on what's wrong with the property. Let's say you're as is and the property comes back. You get this report, you have all the things listed out that are wrong. The agent's like, hey, I think we need to get a contractor in there to walk the property and get a true scope of work on what all of these items are going to cost you to repair. Because remember, seller's not going to fix them. We get the contractor in there and say it comes back with an astronomical number of like $30,000. And you're like, I can't afford this. It wasn't disclosed before I put a purchase agreement down and wrote an offer on the property and put your earnest money in. What's the path forward? How can I, kind of back out of this deal? I can't afford the $30K bill and I'm stuck. The seller screwed me. They didn't write in their seller's disclosure that all these problems were wrong. Well, there is a way that you can mutual release and have your earnest money back. That's what the as-is addendum's protecting. It allows you to inspect. If there's something that's wrong with the property that exceeds the disclosures that the seller gave you, then the buyer can request to mutually release. I always try to avoid that for a number of reasons. If you become a buyer that's constantly just mutual releasing all over the place, well, agents know that. And when you have an offer come in, this actually just happened to me last week. I had a buyer who mutual released twice on the same seller over very petty things. And the seller's like, no, I'm not accepting your full ask offer because you're most likely just going to mutual release on me. And you kind of get a reputation. So as an investor, taking this course and the one takeaway, if you don't hear anything else of this entire course, is be a person who can read an inspection report, and then go and get knowledge on what it is that the report says. They're going to be 71 pages, most likely. Every single report that you get. That's a lot if you're thinking about a house. I mean, they are taking a very, very microscopic view of every inch of the house. So what's the agent's job in all of this, right? I just walked through what to expect, what an as-is addendum looks like. But what should the agent be doing to guide you through this process? Well, how I always lead and how I anticipate other agents lead are they get the inspector in the door, they allow you to chew through the report, and then they provide you the guidance moving forward. So on an inspection report through those 71 pages, you're going to see things like remarks about the foundation, the roof, the chimney, the electrical, the plumbing, and what should we be paying attention to as inspectors? Should we care about the cosmetics section of that inspection report? Probably not. I mean, most likely you're going to paint before you move a tenant in, and you might change some floors out to add value anyways. We should be more worried about the structural integrity. Remember, in a lot of metropolitan markets, you're going to be buying 100-year-old homes. So the foundation has thus far stood the test of time. Could it maybe use some jacks and some support beams to repair? Sure. What does that look like? Well, for most deals, it's like $2,500 to $5,000. When wrote on the report, it can look like $100,000 sometimes, though. Should we be buying a property with knob and tube wiring? No, I wouldn't. That's something that I would try to negotiate out of. Nobody wants to own a house with knob and tube wiring. I wouldn't advise any of my investors to, unless if it's a flip and they're planning on fully rewiring the place. Should we be buying a house that the roof is going to need replaced next month and it's got patches everywhere? No, probably not. Like all of those things, we most likely wouldn't even be putting an offer in on a house like that in the first place. Hey, agent, I see that there's 17 outlets that aren't grounded in the house. Is this a major or minor problem? They'll guide you through those different types of questions and what does the cost actually look like? Putting contractors in front of you to actually scope out the work and coordinating them to get in and out of the door. Your inspection report is not 71 pages of ammo to put in a machine gun to take to the seller and try to get a bunch of discounts. It is knowledge on what is under the hood of the home and what to anticipate moving forward as maintenance cost on a property. Now, sometimes, yes, we can negotiate lower prices on ridiculous things that should have been disclosed, but don't walk into every inspection period thinking that we're going to drop the price by $45K. It doesn't happen. And it's a flawed misconception that's been put out there in different types of markets. In today's current 2024 market, that's not going to work. Now, maybe in 2023 it did. You have to have an agent that can advise you through that. Are we going to negotiate hard during inspection period? Or do we need to be pretty light and just accept the property as it is?
All right, so in this video, Max walked you through how to get a home inspection and how to understand how to use that as more information on the property, potentially some things to negotiate if they're serious enough. We will catch you guys on the next video.